Hello everyone, my name is Sick and welcome back to another Ground Branch video update. A new patch has landed on the Operator Edition, on the beta branch of it, to be more specific. And a lot of new things have been added. One of the things that you might see is a test that is readily apparent, which is the sling on the weapon over here. So for now it's just a generic string, I think, but it looks pretty cool and I hope they can make it work. It does look really good, and you know, it works pretty fine for me at the moment, so I don't see the problems with it. So I'm curious to see how this will be expanded upon in the future. A lot of new things have been added, however. As you might notice right away as well, is the entire inventory screen for your character is different. It looks completely different from how it looked before. And yeah, it's something to get used to. I like the lookout. I like the layout. It looks nice, it looks clean. But of course, you know, I was used to the old system of doing things, so it takes some time to get used to this stuff, but it works pretty well. New weapons have been added. So at the moment I'm carrying my M16, and as you can see, if you click on it, it will expand to show you all the possible subtypes of weapons. So you have your SMGs, you have your assault rifles, you have your shotguns, your light machine guns, and you have your your sniper rifles. But several new weapons have been added. For example, we now have an MK18. So, let's have a look. We have to go down a little bit. There it is, the MK18 Mod 0. Now, if I click on it, you will see there we have it. Looks pretty cool. Another thing you might have noticed is that we have some weapons, for example the M16, and this one has a number behind it. And that might not make a lot of sense to you at first, but it's actually a loadout that you've made before, which is being saved. So if I click on the regular M16, you just get the vanilla thing, right? This is just the regular M16. If I click on the M16 with the whole long number behind it, I will go back to the M16 that I made myself, which is you know, with the ACOG. We have backup sights on the side there, I think. Maybe they're slightly hidden at the moment. Yeah, we have the one. We have the one sticking out here, the other one is sticking out through his leg by the looks of it. We have the angled foregrip, which is also a new item that's been added. And yeah, it's really useful. It just saves the stuff that you've made, so you can customize any weapon, and once you do, it will show up in the list below. So this is the regular M16, this is the one that I made for myself to use. Same thing is true for the MK18 Mod 0 and this one. So if I click on this, we have an MK18 that's slightly different from the regular one. So if I click on it, you're not going to see much of a difference, but it is actually the position of the angled foregrip. So right now the standard one, the angled foregrip, is over there. If I use my own, the angled foregrip is up here. So, you know, it's very convenient actually. Very, very convenient. Because before, I think it only remembered the one weapon. Like if you changed your weapon and then you came back into the game, then it would have remembered the loadout that you had. But, you know, if you changed it, then you would have to go back to your M16, for example. If you went to use an AK-74 and you went back to your M16, you had to do it over again. But now, it will just remember, like, this is your modded M16. And I'm pretty sure you can give it a name as well. So let's have a look. We can edit it. Edit item. Use defaults. Build name. Right, so. Custom. There we go. Save. And now we should see M16 custom. It actually adds on top of it. Alright. Interesting. Delete this one. Yes. And now we have our custom M16. So that is really, really, really cool. But that's not the only weapon. The MK18 is not the only weapon that's been added. So let's have a look at another one. We have, let's see, for the shotguns, we have an SDASS short barrel shotgun, which is this one right there, the SDAS Marshall. Kind of, maybe we can edit it a little bit. Let's see, create new. There we go. So this is a new shotgun that's been added. It is a little bit shorter than the regular one by the looks of it. You know, that should be. Let's see, we have the long list of weapons now. Right, so this one looks to be a little bit longer, looks to be a little bit bigger. So the other one is going to be easier to use in close quarters combat. Yeah, alright. Another weapon that's been added, which is really cool, and you might have seen it already. Let's have a look. Where can I find it? The MP5 SD5. Before we had an MP5 Navy, which is this weapon right here. This one is also able to be customized. You see the real adapter at the top there. Now we also have the MP5 SD5, which is this weapon right there. And as far as I can tell, the only real thing that you can customize about this one is what kind of ammo you bring. But it is a really cool weapon. I actually remember this weapon from the original Rainbow Six and Rogue Spear and Raven Shield, because this was practically the only weapon I ever used, because, well, it handled really well. It was almost completely silent, so it allowed me to get closer to the enemy without them noticing me. And overall, it was just the best weapon in the game by my memory of it, at least. So this is really cool to see again. Yeah, on top of that, several new items have been added for the weapons as well. So if we have to go, we'll have to go back to a different weapon. We can go to an M4, for example. Actually, it remembered what I did the last time. Or actually, maybe the best example would not be the M4, but the M16, because the M16 actually has this this iron sight up at the top there. We can take this one off, and what you can now do is you have risers in the game. So before you had your offset rails only, now we have a riser. It doesn't have a thumbnail yet, but you can add it onto the weapon and it will do what you want it to do. And there are there are variants. So we have the 15 times 100 millimeters, which as you can see when I drag it on top of the weapon, that is the size of it. We have the 15 times 50 millimeters, which is slightly shorter, or half, you know, shorter by half. But then we also have the 25, which is one that is a little bit higher than the other one. And what is really cool about this is that you can put this on your weapon, and then you can, let's see, go to, just put on an ACOG. You can put the ACOG on top of that, and now you can see like the ACOG is actually sighted to be looking over this instead of you know, looking straight at it. If the riser wasn't there and we only had the ACOG, then you would see this thing through the ACOG. But now with the riser, it should look over it and obscure its view, basically. And that is really cool. You can also, of course, still add something on top of that gun, so we can have a small reflex sight on top of on top of the ACOG. And yeah, it looks pretty cool, right? Let's see, we also have muzzle devices, so you can add muzzle device. You can have your suppressor added on top of the M16 as well. Several of those have been added as well for different weapons. So before you could already place one on the M16, but you know, you can, I think you can place it on more weapons than just that one. Another sight that has been added is, let's see, we already had a hollow sight, but now we have a fee-free hollow sight as well. So we can add that one on top as well. I'm going. This serves no purpose at all, so I'm going to take it off again later. But you can see it; it's pretty cool. It is standard on the MK18, I think. So maybe we can switch back to that one and just use that. Yeah, there it is. We have the MK18. We have the angled foregrip. You can change it around to be wherever you want. You can have your muzzle device, which you can just add on top. And you know, you can customize it even further. You know, the more. Why is my? it's stuck. Can I save it? Yeah. Okay. There we go. All right. So we have the angled foregrip. We have the fee-free hollow sight. We have added suppressors. We have rail risers. We also have a bipod. Let's see if I missed it for the MK18. Maybe we can add it on top of this one. Let's see. Accessories, bipod. I think this is the new one. There we go. You can add it on top and deploy your weapon on a surface. I'm not sure if that is actually in the game yet. I haven't seen it in the patch notes, or maybe I just overlooked it. But for now, you know, the item is there. You can put it on your guns and it looks cool. That is at least the extent of it for me. Yeah, so we have the MK18, we have the short barrel shotgun, and we have the MP5 SD5. The weapon sling test I already showed you with the M16. Yeah, I'm looking at my little list of the most important patch notes that I picked out of the long list. Another really cool thing is there's new lighting for all the maps, and Small Town has a night version now, and I actually loaded that one. So let's save this weapon, and I'm gonna hit apply. We're going to enter the play area. And as you can see, we start in our usual spot, but now the map is completely different. It is now nighttime. And it isn't the darkest night I've ever seen, and you can get by without using your night vision. But, you know, if you toggle it on, outside it still looks fairly bright, and I'm not sure how useful I think this is going to be. Especially once you get close to a light source, you're going to be pretty blinded. So I'm going to turn this back off. Do I have anything else? Yeah, I have an IR strobe on top of my helmet. Doesn't really do anything for us, but other people might see us through the night vision. Some other new things that have been added or changed is the ragdoll physics for enemy corpses. And they look a lot better now, and I'm going to show you in just a second once we run into the enemy, essentially. But on the whole, they look a lot better. They flop around much less than they used to do before, because before, when you shot the guy, he looked pretty silly. Alright, but now it actually looks a lot better. I think when I loaded up this map, because I had the game crash on me one time, when I loaded this map up again, I guess it reverted back to the default of maximum of 5 terrorists in the map, which is a very low amount. I usually play around with like 15. There's not a whole lot of guys right now. Crap, I really should have checked that corner. Jesus, there's almost nobody here. You know what? Let me try that again. Alright, so we're back in the game. This time around we should have 15 terrorists waiting for us, so we have a bit more people, or a few more people to shoot, and the map should be a bit more populated. Alright, so let's go ahead and try to show you those weapon, or not a weapon, but corpse physics. Yeah, looks pretty good. Not the best example maybe, but we'll get there eventually. Yeah, you can definitely see the improvement there, because they're very different from what they used to be. They used to flop around so much when you shot them, and now they just kind of like, you know, drop in a realistic and, you know, in a manner that you would expect them to fall. Crap. Another thing that you might notice is that the AI perception values have been changed, and this time around it is much easier to sneak up on these guys. The sound for the suppressor isn't there yet, so it just sounds like a regular rifle would sound without the suppressor. But I think, you know, the value for it is already there, except it's just not the sound. And as you might notice, I shot several guys up there and they didn't even really notice, which is, you know, it's work in progress, right? So don't panic when you see this. They started working on making it easier to sneak around a little bit, because, you know, at the very first iteration of the AI, these guys inside the building would actually hear me walk when I was, you know, behind that wall, for example. They would hear me walk and they would all come out of the building to find me. This time around I can practically walk into the building and they still don't hear me, but, you know, as I said, work in progress. You know, they have to find the sweet spot between, you know, between having all of these values and how they play and interact with each other, essentially. But it's safe to say that this time around they went off to the other extreme, and that these guys are too deaf. Really much too deaf. They... Ooh. Yeah, so I was jogging up to the back of this guy and, you know, I could practically put the muzzle of my rifle up against his neck and he still didn't notice me. So that is something that definitely needs to change. They do notice me if, you know, if I'm in front of them, and they do notice me when they see me, but their perception of hearing is really quite slow and bad. It needs to change. It really does. Alright, let's clear out this final building, or actually I think I need to clear that building as well, but there's usually a few guys in this building as well. you can actually also change the perception values a little bit yourself in the main menu. They're under advanced options, and I think I'm going to have to go and try to mess with that a little bit, because right now they're not much of a challenge, at least not on Small Town. They might be different on Depot, where the sight lines are a little bit longer and they have more of a chance to spot me, because right now I'm just coming around the corner. I'm, well, I don't want to toot my horn, but I'm usually pretty good at FPS games, so I react pretty quickly to any threat that I see, so by the time they really can do anything about me, they're already dead. You know, it does make me feel kind of like a badass, but not really, because it's a little bit too easy. And it's better to overcome adversity. There we go. But yeah, I think everybody will agree with me that if you watch my previous videos on Ground Branch, that the ragdolls are most definitely very much improved. Of course, the list of changes is much longer than what I just described, but these were the most important highlights for me, essentially. Alright. Blood is still there as well, of course, as you can see. All the particles that hit the floor. Oh! Whoa, whoa, whoa! Whoa, whoa. Oh, he actually shoots for the... Right. I'm going to wait for this guy to... What? I thought he was going to reload because he stopped shooting. Alright, well that was the last guy. Also, I'm kind of curious to see the new lighting setup for the Depot map. So I'm going to load that one up and we're going to have a look at that one as well. Alright, so I tried loading up Depot and for some reason the screen stayed very dark. So I tried to use my night vision and it was very blurry and it was very hard for me to see anything. So I decided to load up the tanker ship map instead. And you can see it has changed a little bit maybe. Skybox I think has changed, but probably the changes are slight enough that, well, it's easy to miss. Ooh. Ooh, he was sneaking forward. I like that. Alright, so let's just play around on the tanker ship map a little bit. Oh, there's another guy right there. Can we... Crap! Alright, well, I got both of those guys, but it wasn't pretty, I can tell you that. That was a lot prettier. That makes me feel a lot better. This is the M16 that I made earlier, so if I go into these iron sights, you can actually see off to the bottom left there. That is part of the weapon that would normally be obscuring part of the ACOG scope view, but now it is not doing that anymore because I used a riser, which you can also see a little bit below the scope right here. So the riser makes sure that I can actually look over the front of the weapon, and I have the backup sights off to the right when I cant my weapon. It looks really, really good. I quite like this a lot, actually. Alright. Again, you can see that sneaking is definitely a lot easier than it used to be before. A little bit too easier. That guy did notice me, but too late. This is too easy, I can tell you that. That needs to go back up before the main release. Oh! Crap! Alright, let's go back to the ready room. Yeah, you can definitely tell sneaking up from behind is a lot easier now, but it is too easy. It needs to change, but you know, it's a small set of values that you can go up and down with. I think that, you know, it just needs some tweaking is all, and then it's going to be really good, because it was pretty much impossible to sneak up on these guys, but now they're too easy to sneak upon. So anyway, that's it for this Ground Branch video. Please leave a comment below and like the video if you enjoyed it and want to see more, and I'll see you guys for whatever video I do next.